Imagine this. You are sitting alone in a quiet room. No notifications, no screens, no deadlines asking for your attention. There is just you, your breath, and a subtle rhythm that has been with you since before you were born. Underneath your thoughts, beneath your stories, something is happening in your body, constantly, quietly, without asking for permission. Your heart is beating. Your brain is oscillating. And between them, an invisible dialogue is unfolding. You may have heard phrases like, "raise your frequency," or "protect your energy." They sound mystical, almost otherworldly. But often they remain abstract, difficult to connect with your day-to-day reality. They hover like distant ideas instead of becoming something you can actually feel, measure, and train. In this journey, you are going to cross a threshold. You will move from frequency as a vague spiritual metaphor into coherence as a concrete, measurable, trainable state inside your own body. A state where your heart and your brain begin to move in sync, where your nervous system shifts from constant survival to a quieter, more intelligent presence, where your internal field becomes more stable, more ordered, more coherent, not as a belief, but as a physiological reality. Coherence, in simple terms, is harmony. It is when different parts of a system begin to resonate together in a smooth, efficient way. In your body, coherence emerges when your heart rhythms, your breathing patterns, and your brain waves start to align in a more ordered pattern. You can think of incoherence as a busy, confused crowd. Everyone is shouting. No one is listening. Energy is consumed, but very little is truly coordinated. You feel this as stress, as scattered attention, as emotional turbulence that you cannot quite explain. Coherence, in contrast, is like a symphony. Many different instruments, many different sounds, yet all attuned to a shared rhythm and key. Energy is not wasted. Signals travel more clearly. Information flows more efficiently. When you enter a state of heart-brain coherence, this musical metaphor becomes biological. Your heart's rhythm becomes smoother and more ordered. Your autonomic nervous system moves toward balance. Your brain receives more stable input from the body. Your perception, your emotions, and even your sense of who you are begin to reorganize. To see how real this is, you need one simple metric: heart rate variability, or HRV. HRV is not about how fast your heart beats. It is about how flexible that beat is. It measures the tiny variations in time between one heartbeat and the next. If your heart beats at 60 beats per minute, it's not beating once every exact second. Sometimes there's 0.9 seconds between beats. Sometimes 1.1 seconds. These micro variations form a pattern over time. When you feel stressed, anxious, or internally conflicted, this pattern tends to become more erratic. The rhythm of your heart becomes jagged and fragmented, reflecting the turbulence of your nervous system. When you feel calm, present, and emotionally regulated, something different appears. The rhythm of your heart becomes smoother, more wave-like. It rises and falls like a gentle tide responding to your breath. This smooth, ordered rhythm is called heart coherence. And it's not just a poetic image. It can be seen on a monitor, captured by sensors, traced as a clean, flowing curve instead of a chaotic line.
Here, your inner field starts to become visible. Your heart is not just a mechanical pump. It is also an electrical and electromagnetic center. With every beat, it generates an electromagnetic field that extends beyond the limits of your skin. This is a basic property of electricity and magnetism. What changes with coherence is the pattern of that field. When your heart rhythm is chaotic, the field around you carries that chaotic information. When your heart rhythm becomes coherent, the field becomes more ordered and stable. You can think of this field as the immediate space where your internal state meets the external world. It is where your physiology, your emotions, and your perception come together to shape the reality you actually experience, moment by moment. Now, shift your attention to your brain. For a long time, it has been treated as the main command center, issuing orders to the body, but the communication is not one way. Your heart sends a rich stream of signals to your brain, through nerves, through pressure waves in the blood, and through its electromagnetic field. When your heart rhythm is incoherent, the signals it sends upward are fragmented and irregular. Your brain receives unstable input. Your emotional centers become more reactive. Your thinking, attention, memory, and decision-making become subtly distorted by this constant noise coming from below. When your heart is coherent, the signals become more rhythmic and predictable. Your brain can synchronize more efficiently. Neural oscillations, the brain waves that underlie your thoughts and states of mind, can enter more ordered patterns. The dialogue between heart and brain becomes clearer, more attuned. You do not experience this as graphs, but as a feeling in your own life. Imagine a familiar scene. You are driving, already late, stuck in heavy traffic. Messages keep lighting up your phone. Your chest tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow, high in your throat. Your thoughts race ahead, building worst-case scenarios. In that moment, your body is in incoherence. Your heart rhythm grows more irregular. Your HRV drops, reflecting reduced flexibility in your autonomic nervous system. Your brain shifts into a threat-oriented mode, scanning for what might go wrong. You might snap at another driver. You might arrive angry, drained, already exhausted before the real task begins. Your inner field has become a storm, invisible from the outside, but entirely real for you. Now, imagine a different morning. You wake up just before your alarm. The world around you is still quiet. You sit for a few minutes with your eyes closed, simply breathing in a slow, gentle rhythm. You bring to mind something you genuinely appreciate, maybe a person, a place, or a small moment that felt deeply right. As you breathe, your heart rhythm begins to follow your breath. On the inhale, the interval between beats shortens. On the exhale, the interval lengthens. A soft, wave-like pattern appears. Your HRV increases, not just as a number, but as a felt openness in your chest, a clearer space in your mind. Your brain receives this ordered input and responds. You feel more grounded, less reactive, more capable of meeting whatever the day brings. These are not two different versions of you. They are two different states of internal organization, two different levels of coherence inside the same body. Coherence does not erase challenges. It does not promise a life without difficulty. What it does is reorganize your internal architecture so you can meet those difficulties with more stability. Your physiology becomes less trapped in constant defense and more available for presence, creativity, and connection. In this way, coherence begins to reshape your inner field, not through wishful thinking, but through changes in how your systems communicate: heart, brain, breath, nervous system, all entering a more harmonious dialogue. As you begin to sense this, something subtle shifts in your perception. You start to see your emotions not as random storms, but as patterns rising and falling with your physiological state. You recognize that what you feel is not just in your head. It is in your heart rhythms, in your autonomic regulation, in the field you carry with you into every room, every conversation, every decision. And as this recognition unfolds, another question quietly emerges. If coherence is this real, this measurable, this trainable, what exactly is happening inside your body, moment by moment, when you enter this state? As this inquiry deepens, you are ready to step into the inner mechanics of coherence, where heart-brain communication, HRV, and your nervous system reveal an even more intricate architecture of your inner field.
You now know that coherence is not just a feeling. It is a pattern, a measurable state in which your heart, your breath, and your brain begin to move in a more ordered rhythm. To deepen this, you need to step inside the architecture of your own regulation, not as a detached observer in a lab, but as the conscious inhabitant of your own body. At the core of this architecture is your autonomic nervous system. It runs in the background, regulating heart rate, digestion, breathing, blood pressure, without needing your conscious control. It has two main branches that constantly dance with each other. One branch is the sympathetic system. It prepares you to act. It accelerates your heart, sharpens your senses, mobilizes energy. You feel it when you are excited, under pressure, or facing a challenge. The other branch is the parasympathetic system. It supports rest, digestion, repair, and integration. It slows the heart, calms the breath, and allows your body to recover. Healthy regulation is not about switching one branch off and leaving the other on. It is about flexibility, about your system being able to shift smoothly between activation
and rest. Respond when needed. Release when the moment passes. Heart rate variability, or HRV, is one of the clearest windows into this flexibility. When HRV is higher and more coherent, it suggests that your autonomic system can adapt. Speed up when life asks you to act. Slow down when it is time to restore. When HRV is chronically low and chaotic, it often reflects a system stuck in defense, always partially braced, rarely fully at rest. In this state, you may not even feel stressed in a dramatic way. You simply live in a constant low-level tension that feels normal because it is so familiar. Now bring your attention to the heart. Your heart is more than a mechanical pump. It contains a dense network of specialized neurons, often called the heart-brain. This network can sense, process information, and even learn over time. Signals travel from this heart-brain to your cranial brain through several pathways. One of the main ones is the vagus nerve, a long branching nerve that connects your brain to your heart, lungs, and digestive system. When your heart rhythm is incoherent, jagged, irregular, driven by unregulated stress, the signals traveling upward along the vagus nerve are also irregular. Your brain receives fragmented data, bursts of urgency, uneven patterns of activation. Your emotional centers, such as the amygdala, become more vigilant. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that supports planning, empathy, and impulse control, has to work harder to maintain balance. You experience this as feeling on edge, easily triggered, or mentally foggy. Small problems feel bigger. Neutral events are misread as threats. In coherence, something else happens. When your heart rhythm becomes smooth and wave-like, the signals traveling upward become rhythmic and predictable. Your vagus nerve carries a more stable pattern. Your brain begins to entrain to this pattern. Neural oscillations, your brain waves, adjust. Alpha waves, associated with calm, focused awareness, tend to increase. Connectivity between brain regions improves, especially those involved in emotional regulation and self-awareness. You feel more spacious inside. Thoughts arise, but they do not immediately pull you into reaction. Emotions move, but they do not dominate you. You notice what is happening without being swallowed by it. Think about an ordinary situation, checking your messages in the morning. In a state of incoherence, you might grab your phone before even sitting up. Your heart accelerates at the first stressful subject line. HRV drops as your autonomic system shifts into defense. The signals reaching your brain broadcast urgency. You begin the day already contracted, even before leaving your bed.
Now imagine another version of the same morning. You wake up. You take 30 seconds to feel your body on the bed. You follow your breath for a few cycles. Inhale gently. Exhale slowly, allowing your shoulders to soften. As you do this, your heart rhythm begins to stabilize. Your vagal tone improves. HRV gently rises. You then pick up your phone from this more coherent baseline.
The external information is identical. The email is the same. But your brain, now regulated by coherent heart input, processes it differently. You can prioritize, respond thoughtfully, or choose to pause, not from avoidance, but from clarity. This is the architecture of coherence as lived experience. Your heart rhythm is not just a background signal. It is a powerful modulator of your brain's functional state. Through electrochemical and electromagnetic communication, it shapes what you feel, how you think, and how you interpret the world. Your field, the electromagnetic signature around you, carries this pattern outward. In a meeting, your incoherent field can subtly add to the collective tension. Even without words, others can feel agitation, defensiveness, or disconnection. In coherence, your field becomes an anchor. You may not say much. You may only be listening. Yet your regulated presence can help stabilize the nervous systems of those around you. Their heart rhythms, their brain waves, can begin to attune, even slightly, to your coherent pattern. You might have noticed this with certain people. Being near them feels calming, not because they fix your problems, but because their system is not amplifying your stress. That is coherence, expressed through physiology and field. This brings another layer into view: time. In incoherence, your sense of time compresses. You feel rushed, even when there is enough time. Your brain, in threat mode, narrows focus to immediate problems. Long-term perspective fades. In coherence, your perception of time softens. Moments feel a little more spacious. You can hold present tasks and future implications in awareness at the same time. You make decisions less from panic, more from alignment. As you begin to recognize this architecture, heart rhythm, HRV, vagal signaling, brain waves, field, a deeper insight begins to unfold. Coherence is not only about feeling better in the moment. It is about reshaping the baseline conditions under which your consciousness operates. It is about changing the operating system behind your thoughts, your choices, and your experience of reality. And when you see coherence this way, another question naturally arises. If your inner architecture can be reorganized so deeply, how does this change your long-term health, your emotional landscape, and the way you move through the world each day? This opens the next movement of our journey, where coherence is no longer just a state you visit, but a capacity you can nurture, apply, and expand in every area of your life.
You have seen coherence as a pattern on a graph. You have felt it as a subtle shift in your inner state. Now you begin to notice how it moves through the living landscape of your everyday life. Coherence is not something that happens only in meditation or in rare sacred moments. It is a dynamic process that can arise in the middle of emails, conversations, commutes, and quiet evenings alone. Your body, your mind, and your field are constantly interacting with the world. Coherence changes the quality of that interaction. Begin with your body. Your body is not a rigid machine. It is a flowing network of signals and responses. Electrical impulses travel along nerves. Hormones drift through your bloodstream. Electromagnetic fields pulse with each heartbeat. When you are in incoherence, this network becomes noisy. Your heart rhythm is jagged. Your HRV is compressed. Your muscles hold hidden tension, especially in your jaw, neck, and shoulders. Your breathing is shallow, often locked high in your chest. You might experience this as a dull headache, a tight stomach, or a sense that you are running on fumes. It can feel as if your body is slightly out of sync with itself. You push through the day, but there is friction in every movement. Now imagine your body in coherence. Your breath slows and deepens. Your heart rhythm follows, rising and falling in a smooth wave. HRV opens, reflecting a flexible autonomic system. Blood flow improves, delivering oxygen more efficiently to your brain and muscles. Your muscles no longer brace for impact with every minor stressor. Your jaw loosens. Your shoulders drop a few millimeters. Your abdomen softens. Inside each cell, mitochondria respond to this shift. These tiny power plants sense hormonal and electrical signals. In chronic incoherence, they are often pushed into overdrive or suppression, leading to fatigue or restlessness. In coherence, signaling becomes clearer. Energy production can become more efficient, aligning with actual demand instead of constant perceived emergency. You feel this not as a sudden miracle, but as a gentle sense of being more available to your own life, less drained by small tasks, more present in your own skin. Now turn to your mind. Your thoughts are not separate from your physiology. They ride on the patterns of your neural oscillations, your brain waves. When your heart rhythm is chaotic, the signals reaching your brain carry that same instability. Your emotional centers become more sensitive to potential threats. Your thinking narrows around what might go wrong. Think of a typical workday under pressure. You open multiple tabs. You jump between tasks. Notifications fragment your attention. Inside, your heart rhythm mirrors this fragmentation. Your HRV drops. Your brain struggles to maintain focus. In this state, a small inconvenience can feel overwhelming. A delayed message, a misinterpreted tone, a minor mistake. Each one lands on an already unstable inner field. Your mind reacts quickly, often with self-criticism, frustration, or blame. When you invite coherence, the architecture changes. Take a 2-minute pause. Close your eyes. Bring your attention to your heart area. Breathe slowly, as if you are breathing through your chest. Recall something or someone you genuinely appreciate. As your heart rhythm begins to smooth, the signals reaching your brain shift. Neural oscillations become more synchronized. Alpha activity increases, supporting calm focus. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that sees context and long-term consequences, becomes more engaged. Now return to your tasks. You may still have the same workload, the same deadlines, the same messages, but your responses unfold from a different baseline. You prioritize more clearly. You are less likely to interpret a short email as an attack. You notice when your attention drifts and gently bring it back instead of spiraling into frustration. Your inner field has become a quieter, more stable environment for thought.
This also changes your interactions with others. Imagine a conversation with someone who is stressed. Their voice is tense. Their gestures are sharp. Their heart is likely in incoherence, sending erratic signals to their brain and field. If your own system is also incoherent, your bodies can amplify each other's stress. Two nervous systems mirroring agitation, two fields feeding reactivity. If you are coherent, something else becomes possible. You listen, staying connected to your breath and your heart. You allow their words to arrive, but you do not absorb their agitation as your own. Your field remains more stable. Your heart rhythm continues in its smoother pattern. Their nervous system may begin to unconsciously entrain to your coherence. Their breathing may slow a little. Their tone may soften. You have not fixed them. You have simply offered a different pattern for their system to resonate with.
This is where the idea of your body as an antenna gains depth. Your field is not just personal. It is interactive. In a crowded space, a subway, an office, a cafe, you are constantly exchanging subtle signals. You may not be aware of them, but your nervous system is. When you are coherent, your body broadcasts a pattern of order instead of fragmentation. You are still affected by the environment, but you are less easily pulled into every external storm. Consider another ordinary example. Scrolling on your phone late at night. Your eyes track rapid changes in light and content. Your brain processes an endless stream of novelty. This constant stimulation keeps your sympathetic system activated. Your heart rate stays slightly elevated. Your HRV remains low. Sleep, when it finally comes, is often shallow. You wake less restored. The next day, your baseline coherence is already compromised. Now, picture a different pattern. You set a simple intention. The last 10 minutes of your day are for coherence. You put the phone aside, you dim the lights, you sit or lie down and breathe slowly into your heart area. You recall 3 small moments from the day that you genuinely appreciate. Your heart rhythm smooths. Your HRV rises. Signals reaching your brain say it is safe to downshift. Your parasympathetic system engages. Sleep, when it arrives, has a different quality. Over time, this simple choice changes more than one night. It changes your baseline. This is coherence in motion. In the body that breathes and moves, in the mind that thinks and perceives, in the field that touches and is touched by the world. As you begin to see these patterns, another layer of understanding appears. If coherence can be invited in such small, concrete ways, what practices can you cultivate day after day to make this state less accidental and more intentional? As this question unfolds, you step toward the next chapter. Practical explorations that allow coherence to become not just an occasional refuge, but a living rhythm in the way you move through your life.
You have seen coherence as a pattern. You have watched it move through the body, the mind, and the field around you. Now you begin to explore how to deliberately anchor this state in the real texture of your daily life. Coherence is not about perfection. It is not about never feeling stressed, never reacting, never losing balance. It is about cultivating a reliable way back, a learned pathway from turbulence to inner order. In modern life, the forces that pull you out of coherence are constant. Workloads that stretch your attention, screens that capture your nervous system, information streams that never truly end. So the practices you build must be simple, direct, and forgiving. Begin with the most accessible gateway, your breath. Your breath is the bridge between voluntary and involuntary systems. You can let it run automatically, or you can consciously guide it. When you choose to guide it, you gain a direct handle on your heart rhythm and autonomic state. One of the most researched patterns for coherence is a slow, even breath, around 5 to 6 cycles per minute. You do not need to be exact, you only need to be intentional. Find a comfortable position, sitting or standing. Place one hand gently over the center of your chest, not as a dramatic gesture, but as a quiet reminder of where you are directing your attention. Inhale slowly through your nose, counting silently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel your ribs expand, your chest lift slightly. Pause for a soft moment at the top. Then exhale through your mouth, just a bit longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you breathe, imagine that the air is flowing in and out of your heart area, as if your chest is the center of your breathing. Within about a minute, your heart rhythm begins to follow this wave. On the inhale, the time between beats shortens. On the exhale, it lengthens. A smooth sinusoidal pattern appears in your HRV. You might feel a warmth in your chest, a softening of your throat, a slight clearing behind your eyes. If you add a genuine emotion to this breath, such as appreciation, care, or gratitude, the effect deepens. This is sometimes called heart-focused breathing. You are not forcing yourself to be positive. You are inviting one specific authentic feeling to rise and gently color your physiology. You might recall a moment when you felt deeply understood, or a simple image, sunlight on water, the face of someone you care about, a quiet path in nature. Let the feeling arise first, then let the image support it. As this emotion stirs, your heart's electromagnetic field reflects it. The pattern of coherence becomes stronger. Signals to your brain become even more ordered. This practice can be done almost anywhere. Before opening your laptop in the morning, in your car before walking into a meeting, in the bathroom during a stressful day when no one is watching. Next, you can weave coherence into your movement. Modern stress often traps you in stillness, long hours sitting, eyes fixed on a screen. Your body wants to move, but the movement is rarely coherent. It shows up as fidgeting, restlessness, pacing without release. Coherent movement is different. It links motion, breath, and awareness into a single flowing pattern. You might stand up and let your weight shift slowly from one foot to the other. As you sway, you keep your breath steady in the same 5-second inhale, 6-second exhale rhythm. Your attention remains in your chest, sensing each subtle shift. Or you might take a short walk, not for exercise, but for integration. You match your steps to your breath, perhaps 3 steps in, 3 steps out. You feel the contact of each foot with the ground. You allow your gaze to soften, taking in the wider space instead of narrowing onto a single point. This coordination of breath, movement, and awareness sends a powerful signal to your nervous system. I am here. I am connected. I am not just surviving this moment, I am inhabiting it. You can also create micro-practices to interrupt specific modern stressors. For example, the moment before you open a social media app, you might pause for a single coherent breath. Hand to chest, slow inhale, slow exhale. This does not prevent distraction entirely, but it changes how your nervous system meets the incoming stimulation. Before entering a difficult conversation, you might do 3 cycles of heart-focused breathing. You set a quiet intention. May I stay coherent even if emotions rise. This is not about control. It is about preparing your field to hold more complexity without collapsing. At the end of the day, you can use coherence as a transition ritual. Screens, tasks, and worries bleed into the night if left unchecked. Your body may be home, but your field is still entangled with unresolved loops from the day. Choose a simple anchor. It might be sitting on the edge of your bed or standing by a window. You place your hand on your chest and ask yourself quietly, how coherent am I right now? You do not need a number. You can sense the answer. Does your chest feel tight or open? Is your breath rushed or steady? Is your mind racing or spacious? Then for 3 to 5 minutes, you breathe into coherence. Slow rhythm, heart focus, genuine appreciation for even one small thing that happened that day. You are not trying to rewrite the whole day. You are simply choosing the state in which you will end it. Over time, this choice accumulates. Your baseline HRV can improve. Your sleep can become deeper. You wake with more access to coherence, not starting from deficit every morning.
These practices are not rigid rules. They are invitations. You will forget them sometimes. You will react before you remember to breathe. Even that is part of the learning. Each time you notice that you have drifted from coherence and gently return, you strengthen a pathway in your nervous system. Neuroplasticity means that what you repeat becomes easier. Over weeks and months, coherence can become less of a special exercise and more of a familiar home base. You may begin to notice that your first response to stress shifts. Where you once tightened immediately, you now pause, even if only for a second. Where you once spiraled into stories, you now feel the body first. You breathe. You choose. These are small movements, but they alter the architecture of your life. As these practices deepen, a subtle realization arises. Coherence is not only changing how you feel inside, it is changing the way you meet the world moment by moment. And this leads to the final movement of this journey. How does a coherent inner field reshape the story you are living? And what kind of human becomes possible when heart and brain move together in sustained alignment? As this question unfolds, you are ready to enter the closing synthesis, where the science, the practice, and the quiet wonder of coherence converge into a new way of inhabiting your own field.
You have walked through the science. You have felt coherence as a shift in your body and mind.
You have practiced inviting it into ordinary moments of your day. Now, you stand at a quiet threshold. This is where coherence stops being just a tool you use and starts becoming a way of being you embody. Pause for a moment and look back, gently. You began with an abstract idea, human frequency, a vague sense that you are more than flesh and thought, that you live as a pattern in a larger field. Then, coherence appeared as a bridge, a state where your heart and brain move together, where your nervous system settles into a more ordered rhythm, where your inner field becomes stable enough to hold life without collapsing under it. In your body, this has meant a new kind of resilience. HRV is no longer just a number. It is a mirror of your adaptability. When stress rises, you are not helpless. You have felt how a few coherent breaths can change the tone of your physiology. You have seen how tension can loosen, how energy can return in more even waves, how your heart can shift from fragmentation to a rhythm. In your mind, coherence has opened space. Thoughts still come, emotions still move, but you are no longer fused with them in the same way. The dialogue between your heart and brain has become clearer. Your prefrontal cortex has more access to balanced signals. You can see context where before there was only urgency. Your field, the subtle electromagnetic envelope that surrounds you, has shifted too. You have started to sense how your internal state colors the space around you, how incoherence tightens not only your body, but also the atmosphere you bring into rooms, into conversations, into decisions. This is not magic. It is interaction dynamics. A coherent system, by its very order, tends to stabilize patterns in its vicinity. You have seen glimpses of this when someone calm steadied you without a word. Now you know that you can become that presence for yourself and sometimes for others. You are not a perfectly coherent being. No one is. Life is too complex, too alive for that. You will still experience stress, uncertainty, conflict, but coherence has given you a compass. You can feel, often within seconds, when you have drifted into fragmentation. You know how to return. Imagine a day 6 months from now. You wake up. Before you reach for your phone, you place a hand over your chest and take 3 slow, coherent breaths. No drama, no big ritual, just a quiet agreement with yourself. I will begin from my center, not from the noise. Your heart rhythm responds. Your brain receives steady input. You step into your morning from a baseline that is already less reactive. Later, an unexpected challenge appears. A sudden change at work, a misunderstanding with someone you care about, news you did not want to hear. In the past, this might have hijacked your entire system for hours or days. Now, you still feel the impact. Your chest tightens, your breath catches. Old patterns of thought begin to rise. But something else is present too. You notice. You name what is happening inside. This is shock. This is fear. This is grief. Then, even for only a single breath, you return to your heart. Inhale slowly.
exhale longer. You invite a small thread of coherence into the chaos. It does not erase the challenge, but it gives you a place to stand while you face it, a stable reference point inside your own field. Over time, these small returns accumulate. Your nervous system learns that it doesn't have to stay locked in defense. Your baseline HRV can shift upward. Your capacity to stay present with discomfort grows. Coherence also begins to shape your choices in subtle ways. You may notice that you are less drawn to environments that constantly pull you into fragmentation. You may feel less tolerance for endless scrolling, for conversations rooted only in complaint, for schedules that leave no space for breath. Not because you are forcing yourself to be better, but because your system has tasted a more coherent way of existing, and it begins to prefer it. You might choose to step outside for 5 minutes between meetings. You might pause before responding to a message that triggers you. You might protect the last half hour of your evening as a small sanctuary for coherence, rather than letting the day blur into sleep. These decisions, taken alone, look ordinary. Together, they form a new architecture of living. Your relationships feel this too. When you are coherent, you listen differently. You are less likely to react from an old wound in the first second. You can allow others to express their states without immediately merging with them. Sometimes, your coherence will help another nervous system settle. Sometimes, it will simply keep you from being pulled into spirals that are not yours to carry. Both are valuable.
If you zoom out even further, coherence touches something more existential. It changes how you experience yourself as a conscious being moving through time. Moments of presence become more frequent. Your life feels less like a series of disconnected reactions and more like a continuous unfolding. You begin to sense that your identity is not only the sum of your thoughts and memories, but also the pattern of your inner field over time. A pattern you can influence. A pattern that through coherence can become more aligned with what you truly value. This is where the science of HRV and heart-brain communication brushes against the deeper questions of consciousness. What happens when a human being lives from a coherent field more often than not? How does that change the kinds of futures they can perceive, choose, and stabilize? You do not need all the answers now. It is enough to feel that coherence opens a new horizon. From here, the next episodes in this series will explore how a coherent inner field may interact with the probabilistic nature of reality itself, moving into quantum perspectives on intention, choice, and the unfolding of your life. For now, you return to something very simple. Your hand on your chest, your breath slow and even, your heart beating its quiet rhythm, your brain listening, the field around you subtly reorganizing. You are not trying to become someone else. You are learning to inhabit yourself more fully. Coherence is not a destination. It is a way of walking. And as you step back into your day, you carry with you a quiet knowing. At any moment, you can pause. You can feel. You can breathe. You can invite your heart and brain to move together again. Your inner field responds. Your world, in small but very real ways, begins to echo that change. As this chapter closes, another quietly begins. You stand at the edge of a coherent horizon, ready to explore what becomes possible when your biology, your awareness, and the subtle architecture of your field finally move as one.
Your frequency is always shaping reality. When your heart is calm and your mind is clear, the field around you responds. This is not philosophy, it is physics in motion. Move with intention, breathe with coherence, and remember, the energy you hold becomes the life you live.